Today we are diving into one of the deepest mysteries of our faith, a mystery that is about to be brought to the big screen in a way never before seen in the history of cinema. For more than 20 years after the overwhelming impact of the Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson has remained in what many describe as an active silence, studying, praying, and consulting with leading theologians and Christian mystics. The purpose? To prepare the sequel the entire world has been waiting for, the resurrection of the Christ. But do not expect a conventional retelling. What Gibson is preparing and what audiences are expected to see in theaters in 2027 is not merely the story of an empty tomb. It is an exploration of what happened in the unseen realm during those hours when the world believed the light had been extinguished forever. Gibson himself, describing the scope of the project, explained, "The resurrection is not simply an event that occurred 2,000 years ago. It is an event that exists outside of time and continues to have consequences in every moment of our present existence. I don't just want to show a man rising. I want to show the explosion of life that destroys death forever." Today, we will attempt to understand these revelations and why this film promises to shake the very foundations of our spiritual perception. The first major pillar of this new work centers on a phrase from the Creed that many of us recite without fully grasping its meaning. He descended into hell. What does that truly mean? In the new film, Gibson will not remain at the tomb in Jerusalem. The narrative will descend into the realm of the dead, the place the ancients called Sheol. According to sources close to the production, as well as studies of the mystical visions of Anne Catherine Emmerich, the film will portray Jesus entering the realm of death not as a victim, but as the King of Glory reclaiming what belongs to him. Gibson has used strong language to describe the visual experience awaiting audiences, even referring to it as almost like an acid trip. He clarified that the story deals with realms humanity has never explored. The film must be illuminating. It must move beyond ordinary sensory experience to portray the magnificence of what took place in the invisible. This descent was not a quiet stroll. It was an invasion, light entering the deepest darkness, presented with visual intensity designed to leave viewers breathless. Many Christians view the resurrection as purely joyful and serene. Yet the earliest theology teaches that those 3 days were the setting of an unrelenting spiritual battle. Gibson intends to emphasize that dimension, the fall of rebellious angels and their desperate attempt to hold souls captive in the realm of death. In discussions with biblical scholars, he has stressed the need to show the severity of that confrontation. Evil believed it had triumphed on Friday afternoon, but Saturday was a day of terror for the powers of darkness. The film must show the terror, Gibson reportedly explained. If we do not show how deep the abyss was, we will never understand how high Christ's victory truly stands. He wants audiences to understand that the resurrection was not a magical trick. It was an act of divine authority that reordered the laws of the universe. Christ did not return to life like Lazarus, only to die again. He passed through death in order to destroy it from within. Another element that gives this project exceptional depth is its connection to the Shroud of Turin. Gibson has reportedly spent years examining archaeological and scientific research related to the Passion. In the film, the moment of resurrection will draw upon some of the most compelling scientific hypotheses surrounding the Holy Shroud. How could a body leave an image imprinted on cloth through an unknown form of radiation? The film will attempt to visualize that zero moment, the instant when a tortured body is touched by divine power capable of transforming matter itself. This will not be ordinary cinematic lighting. It will be a representation of the glory of God dwelling within the temple of Christ's body. We will see that the burial cloths were not unwrapped. Instead, the body passed through them, leaving them intact, but empty. This is one of the strongest statements Gibson seeks to make, a visual affirmation that the resurrection is a real, physical event, not merely a symbol or spiritual metaphor. While Christ battled in the abyss, what was happening on earth? The film will explore the sorrow and waiting of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Gibson has chosen to portray the mystical bond between mother and son, even when everything seemed lost. Mary alone kept the flame of faith alive in the world. The film will deepen her portrayal, not only as a grieving mother, but as an active participant in the mystery of her son. We will also witness the anguish of the apostles, locked inside the upper room in fear, swallowed by a silence that felt endless. Gibson will examine their guilt and confusion, making the appearance of the risen Christ even more powerful. The encounter between the glorified Christ and his friends promises to be one of the most moving and theologically rich moments of the film, the moment when mercy meets human weakness and transforms it into universal mission. Why did Gibson decide to divide the project into two parts, both planned for release in 2027? The answer lies in the magnitude of the material. The first chapter, scheduled for release on Good Friday 2027, will focus primarily on the descent into hell, an event often overlooked, yet central to understanding the full scope of the resurrection, and this is only the beginning. And in portraying that spiritual battle, the film will not be calm or distant. It will be intense, almost claustrophobic, designed to make us feel the crushing weight of sin carried on the Savior's shoulders. The second part, planned to culminate in the Ascension, will celebrate the triumph of Christ and the birth of the Church. This creative decision reflects Gibson's determination not to trivialize the resurrection by reducing it to a brief, happy ending. Instead, he wants viewers to live through Holy Saturday, that silent, suspended moment between death and glory. It is a day that mirrors our earthly existence, a time of waiting, perseverance, and faith, even when God seems absent. This is not invention. The powerful elements that will appear on screen are rooted in the meditative writings of mystics such as Mary of Agreda and Anne Catherine Emmerich. Their accounts describe details not explicitly recorded in the Gospels. Christ's dialogue with the souls in limbo, the terror of Lucifer, and the unbearable brilliance of divine light confronting the creatures of darkness. Gibson is translating this mystical theology into cinematic language. For centuries, such contemplative insights were known primarily within spiritual circles. Now through film, they may be presented to a global audience. This project is not merely entertainment. It carries the ambition of evangelization in a secular age, an effort to remind modern culture that the supernatural is not fantasy, but a deeper layer of reality than the material world we touch with our hands. As 2027 approaches, a personal question emerges for each of us. Are we prepared to receive the radical message this film seeks to proclaim? Gibson points us toward an uncomfortable truth. If Christ has truly risen, then everything changes. Suffering is no longer meaningless. Death is no longer a wall, it becomes a doorway. The resurrection stands at the center of history. Without it, our faith would be empty. So let us prepare, not merely as spectators, but as witnesses of the risen one. If you believe that the light of Christ can overcome every darkness, and that his victory is also your victory, declare it with conviction. Christ is risen, death has been defeated. May God bless us all.